You are listening to Hello Cupcake, It's Me, a podcast with your host, Michael Peterson.
Hey everyone, Michael here with Hello Cupcake, It's Me, a podcast. Today is January 26th, 2023, and thanks for hanging with me. This is episode 51. So, before we get into it, head on over to hellocupcakeitsme.com to check out the blog and go over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/hellocupcakeitsme. Like, subscribe, and share, and come join in on the fun. So, today I want to talk about something a little different, and it's going to get kind of like a bit politically charged, so, warning or what have you. But, I just want to talk about, my observations that I've seen within the community. And, as some of you do or don't know, from time to time, I utilize my local food bank. And, it's usually on, toward the end of the month when my money is really kind of scarce, and if I am running out of pantry staples or whatever, so rice or just canned goods. So the last 2 weeks I have gone to the food bank, and not only have I noticed a change in what they're starting to offer, USDA, the stuff that they're offering now that I never knew from growing up utilizing food banks and stuff like that, that stuff was even offered. So one of the things that I started noticing that's being offered by the USDA is ground pork chops, stew meat, beef stew meats, hamburger, bacon, and fish products. Seafood fish products. And so, it's really become kind of a social experiment with me, just showing up to the food bank, counting the number of cars that are in line when I show up, and kind of taking notice of who is showing up and who is utilizing the food banks. And I'm starting to notice that there are more and more what typically would have been considered middle-class Americans showing up at our local food banks. 5, 10, 15 years ago, these are the type of people that you would see there and you don't need to be here. Why are you here? I saw one family, and it was a husband, his wife, and their 4 kids, varying ages from, I would say, 7 all the way to about 14, 15. Looked like they were traditional white-collar, house with picket fence type family, and driving a semi-newer Escalade type of a car, or SUV, truck, whatever the hell that you want to call it. And watching them interact with the people who not only ran the food bank, but interacting with other people who were there. You get these cans of canned pork or canned beef that is not the best quality, and if you don't know how to cook it, it's really disgusting. And so it comes in this plain generic white can with a label on it or with a stamped ink label, not even like a paper label, but just a stamped label that says beef, and it's got a picture of a cow on it. And then some of the nutritional information on the back or whatever. And the wife picked it up and she was looking at it. She's like, honey, what do we do with this? And it was like a turn your nose up kind of a situation, like, what do we do with this? And just watching the kids go around like, oh my gosh, all this food is free? And it's like, well, it's not technically free. I mean, at one point or another, somebody had to pay for it, but, I'm saying this to myself, but they were just in awe. Like, this is, and I actually heard one of them say this, and it was kind of like a slap in the face, and also kind of a, like, you really are just out of touch by no fault of their own, because, they were raised up in a certain way and in a certain income level, and for whatever reason, their family had to take them there. But they referred to it as the poor person's grocery store, or poor person's mobile grocery store, or something like that. And I was just like, okay. And I've seen them at the local food banks like 3 or 4 more times now, and they've become a little bit more acclimated to what is happening, how to go about doing things or whatever. And I think that communities should have free cooking classes. Like, it should be put on by the food bank, or it should be put on by, like, the Seroptimus Club, or some kind of organization, even if it's just a volunteer person with a kitchen cook space, or like an area that you have a bunch of induction burners, or those portable, like, tabletop stove burner things, and teach people how to properly cook the foods that are available to them at the local food banks. Like today, I picked up an eggplant, some eggs, some tomato sauce, and some breadcrumbs. And my first thought was, I'm going to go home and make eggplant parmesan. Now, I know eggplant parmesan isn't like everybody's favorite, nor do a lot of people know how to make it, but it's actually extremely easy, a bit messy, but a really damn good meal. And, like, if you ask just the normal run-of-the-mill person, hey, do you know how to make eggplant parmesan? They're probably going to look at you like, no, I'm not a chef. And, all you need is eggs. You can add a little bit of milk to your egg if you want to, but you don't have to. But you need a bowl of eggs that you whip it all up. You need your breadcrumbs and flour. Well, this is the way that I make it anyway. So you cut your eggplant up. You don't have to peel it or anything, but you cut it up into rounds. And then you do eggs, flour, eggs, breadcrumb, stick it in a pan. And usually you use like a baking pan, like a 9x12 glass pan or something like that, like a casserole dish. And then you pour your tomato sauce over the top of it, add a little bit of Parmesan cheese, or you can even go as far as using the spaghetti shaker cheese. It's not the same, but traditionally you would use Parmesan or another type of cheese like mozzarella or something like that. And then you stick it in the oven for 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. Typically until the top of it is a golden brown color because of the cheese changing to the golden brown. And then you plate it up and you have yourself a good meal. So, the average Joe Q public who doesn't do a lot of cooking, and like the only cooking that they do consists of pushing numbers on their microwave and calling it good. So it would be kind of good to have that resource within a community and offer it like once or twice a month, where you just take the food from the food bank that you got that day, and they could bring it, and you can show them how to cook it up or teach them how to cook it, and maybe have to-go containers, or they can bring in their own to-go containers, and you fill it up for them and send them on their way, like do meal prepping. And I know that would be especially helpful for the elderly and handy abled people to do. So I've been trying to think of like if that would be something I would be willing to try to spearhead or even get implemented, because at the YMCA where I go to do my water aerobics and stuff, they have a kitchen area, and on Wednesdays they have the food bank right there, and like maybe be something that could partner up with during the spring and summertime, partnering up with the food co-op, and for the people who show up, they get like a $5 vegetable token or something that they can then trade in for fresh veggies or whatever. And like, I know that they already do that with the EBT SNAP program here in my area. Like, you go to this special booth, you present your EBT card, and like for every, I think it's $5 or $10 you spend, they match you $5 or $10. And so, that's something that I would like to see implemented in the community, or even offered, and see if it would take flight from there. But the other thing that I've started noticing is just the general disconnect in people, and mainly in the general disconnect of like Republicans and Democrats, and how everyone has an opinion but nobody has a solution. Recently, there's an unofficial city page for where I live that is ran by a person who tried to like run for sheriff and ended up like getting outvoted, and wanted to do some things within the community and ended up getting turned down left and right because of his personal politics and this, that, and the other thing. And so now this person runs this local official looking website or Facebook page. And anyways, they always post stuff on there that kind of rebel rouses. And it is very Republican in nature and very askewed what he happens to post about. And time to time, I will post my own viewpoints on what's going on. So, the other day, there was something posted talking about how the traffic enforcers were unsure of what the laws were when it came to people who lived in their cars on the side of the road. Like, do they ticket them? Do they have the car towed and impounded? Whatever else. And I said, well, I could understand where that problem arises because, there are there are city and county laws that say that you cannot have an abandoned vehicle, or you can't have this, that, or the other thing on the side of the road. There's no camping, there's no this, there's no that, blah, blah, blah. But with the decline in housing and the availability of affordable income housing, especially affordable low income housing, and the housing crisis pretty much across the whole state, I said that what we need to do is have it implemented that a mobile dwelling, be that a car or RV, whatever it is, but a mobile dwelling cannot stay in the same area for more than 3 consecutive days. That if they get there on a Monday, by Wednesday evening, they have to relocate. And I said doing so would help alleviate pockets of, like, the unhoused, or the traditionally housed. And I said that could solve a little bit of it. And then somebody put on there, well, it's not only the fact that their cars or whatever are, like, junky looking, but they leave a lot of trash behind. I said, well, people are not inherently dirty. Yeah, you have hoarders and you have people that, like, have mental health issues and so on and so forth that don't necessarily keep up after themselves, but make it so that they could take their trashes to the city dump and dispose of their refuge for free. Well, because I used the free word, people jumped all over that. They're like, why the hell should they be able to throw their trash away for free when we have to pay, and we have to do this, and we have to do that? And I said, well, do you have to wake up every morning on the side of the road? Do you have to try to figure out how you're going to get food that day? Do you have to try to figure out how you're going to cook said food? Do you have to figure out how to get your home from point A to point B? And what about if your home's breaking down? I said, we pay enough taxes in this city that the refuge center could allot for the homeless or untraditionally housed people to dispose of their stuff. I said, or, provide everyone in town with larger trash cans, and maybe, like, some of the people in the city have a trash can with a red lid. And if it's a trash can with a red lid, that means that it's safe for the traditionally unhoused people to utilize that trash can. I said there are so many things that we could do to help and to be part of a solution, not just constantly pointing fingers at this person or that person, and the Democrats did this, the Republicans did that, and well, it doesn't matter who did what or why it happened. What matters is the fact that there is not a working solution right this fucking second that will help those persons who need the help now, not later. And if you're not familiar with Section 8 and, like, other housing programs like that, or low-income housing in general, with low-income housing, especially in densely populated areas, or even in rural areas, you have wait lists on these low-income apartments that are sometimes 2-3 years long. Now, with Section 8, even though it is federally illegal to discriminate against housing vouchers or whatever, landlords and property owners still discriminate, still, they still find ways to keep from renting to low-income persons. And, there's all kinds of incentive programs and all kinds of funding, like, if you do rent to a Section 8 person and they damage your property and leave or whatever, there's fundage to restore your property back to how it was. Yes, the landlord or property manager at times have to, like, kind of follow strict guidelines and regulations or what have you, but that's just good ownership of property. And so I saw it one time. I was with a friend of mine at the time, and this friend was looking for a new place to live. They received Section 8 and some other benefits, as well as their own benefits from being older and having retired from work and stuff like that. And this one property management flat out said, we will not rent to you because you have Section 8. We do not rent to Section 8 recipients. And I chimed in, I was like, excuse me, but yes, you can, yes, you will. That is a federal crime, federal crime. I said, what you just said right now breaks the Fair Housing Act, and it violates the statutes of Section 8. And they're all like, well, we don't have to rent to anyone that we care not to rent to. I said, you are actively discriminating at this point, and now, I have it recorded that you have discriminated, because I was sitting there with my phone out the whole time, and I was looking around and, like, kind of showing moving my phone around so, they could see that I was actively using it or whatever. And, they said, well, we don't allow recording in here. I said, well, that's funny, because this whole time I've been utilizing my phone. No, not once did you say that I was not allowed to record anything that I was doing. And I said, but, I am a mandated reporter, and even though I am not a property mandated reporter, I'm still a mandated reporter regardless. And you have just violated these things. I said, now, I wouldn't let this person move in here, but you can guarantee you're going to get a call from the Fair Housing Authority. And I did. As soon as we left there, I called Fair Housing, and I turned that property in, and it took a little bit of doing, but it's now under new management. But the point of that story is, like, there is such a bias and such a hatred for those persons receiving Section 8, because, it's colloquially thought of as ghetto, of dirty, of, like, the lowest of the low, or whatever, the undesirables, whatever verbiage you want to use. But it was like, and then also with that, so Section 8 closes, and by what I mean closes is that it will take on, say, 1,500 clients, new clients, and then it will shut down the program for 10 years or so. I think in my area, the program is currently shut down and has been shut down for the last 12 years. and that it's only on, it's like a lottery system in order to be able to get your Section 8 voucher. But then again, you get Section 8, then you are discriminated against by property managers and so on and so forth. And then through that discrimination, there's also new law here in my state that if you are charged an application fee and background and all that other stuff, that if you are not provided the house or the dwelling, that they have to give you that money back, plus an explanation as to why you were not accepted, and the official report as to why you were not accepted. So if they went through Experian or any of those other like credit agencies, if they did a background check, they have to source the background, they have to provide you with the background information, they have to give you the whole spiel of why you were not accepted for that property. And a lot of people aren't really aware of that, and I've kind of taken it on myself to post on forums and stuff about that information, just so that people within the community who are affected by these unscrupulous property managers could have a way to sort of fight back and not be taken advantage of. Because what a lot of people were doing is they would charge all of that money to somebody who didn't already have it, and then just pocket it because there was no, and then tell them, oh, well, we ran you and we found somebody who was better qualified. So it was like a money laundering scheme, basically, where you were quite literally robbing from the poor and keeping it. So, yeah, I can continue on and on about this and whatever else, but I think the main point that I want to make right now is that regardless of what your political affiliation is, you need to put that aside, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're red, if you're blue, if you're whatever. We are humans. We all share this giant rock floating through space, and homelessness, poverty, hunger, all of these things are part of the human condition and are part of what we all could experience. And with things getting worse and the economy going up and down, left, right, inflation and this, that, and the other thing, we are all one or two paychecks away from being homeless and displaced ourselves. So many people think that they are closer to becoming Kim Kardashian than they are the homeless person on the street asking for money. And, you are literally just one or two misfortunate events happening from being homeless and displaced and having everything that taken from you. So think about that. Think about how things could be fixed, and take your political ideology out of the equation and literally just think about that. How can this be fixed now? So if you've listened this far along, thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Head on over to youtube.com/HelloCupcakeIt'sMe to check out the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe over there, and then go give the blog some love at hellocupcakeitsme.com. And until next time, I will talk to you then. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You have been listening to Hello Cupcake, It's Me, a podcast with your host, Michael Peterson. Please make sure to check back often, as new episodes are released bi-weekly. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to send a message to hellocupcakeitsme@gmail.com. And until next time, stay happy, safe, and keep doing the best you can with what you have been given.